Welcome to PCOM Perspectives, where we discuss news, events, research, and other topics impacting our campuses and communities. Join us as we share our PCOM perspectives. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Dr. Jay Feldstein, and today we're talking with Dr. Daryl Crenshaw, a practicing nephrologist and passionate supporter of medical education. Dr. Crenshaw is an adjunct faculty member at PCOM South Georgia and a volunteer with the student organization Brothers in Medicine. He completed medical school at Tulane University, a residency at the University of Alabama School of Medicine, and a fellowship at Emory University School of Medicine in nephrology. He also earned a Master of Business Administration from Thomas University. Dr. Crenshaw now serves on the medical staff at both Colquitt Regional Medical Center and Archbold Memorial Medical Center, where he is vice chairman. Today, he and I will discuss kidney concerns impacting Georgia's population and how advances in genetic testing can hopefully prevent kidney failure in the future. Welcome, Dr. Crenshaw.
Thank you, Dr. Feldstein. It's wonderful to be here.
So we'll go to first names now, so we're not calling each other doctor throughout the course of this. So Daryl, how did you become to be interested in nephrology?
Jay, that's a great question. As you mentioned in the introduction, I am a native of Selma, Alabama. And for those who don't know, Selma is somewhat in the Black Belt of Central Alabama. It's a very rural type atmosphere, but unfortunately, there's a lot of poverty and a lot of disease. And so growing up, unfortunately, I grew up in a family, Jay, where there was a tremendous burden of kidney disease. I had an uncle who ultimately required dialysis, received a transplant back in the 70s. I had another great uncle who was ultimately on dialysis. My grandmother actually died with end-stage kidney disease. And so I had this tremendous burden around me growing up. I recall, seeing my uncle having to go to dialysis, and back then they had these grafts or shunts that they were requiring to use dialysis in order to be able to accommodate dialysis. And Jay, I really did not like it. My uncle actually died at the age of 39.
Wow.
And so going through medical school, I really started to develop a fondness for the kidney. Did not like physiology, but as it grew on me, I started to really become, I think, fond of the physiology of acid-base disorders and kidney disease. And then ultimately, by the time I was in my clinicals, I recognized that this would be something I wanted to do. Well, meanwhile, when I traveled back to Alabama to train, I really began to, again, see this tremendous burden of kidney disease all throughout Alabama, and then ultimately throughout the South. I recognized that there was a tremendous burden of kidney disease. And so I think this propelled me to pursue the aspirations of becoming a nephrologist.
Well, that kind of leads into my second question, which you're kind of already answered to a degree, is why is nephrology such an important specialty in an area like South Georgia?
Jay, it's amazing. And you could extrapolate Georgia throughout all the southeastern portion of the United States. This includes Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina. In Georgia in particular, though, it's known now that the mortality rate of kidney disease is actually 30 to 40% higher than the national average. And so when I was in Atlanta and started seeing this burden of kidney disease in my training, I recognized that I wanted to go to a place that was endemic with kidney disease. And then ultimately that landed me in South Georgia. And it has not failed as far as the tremendous burden of kidney disease. And it continues to remain a high burden even to this day. I've been in South Georgia now right at 17 years.
Wow. I've heard that you're working with some new technology using DNA testing to identify patients who are likely to develop kidney failure. How's that work, and why is this early identification so important?
So Jay, for many, many, many decades, when we look at the cause of kidney disease, it's been well known that the two most common causes of kidney disease, number one in the world is diabetes. About 45% of all individuals with kidney disease have some form of diabetes as a cause. And then the second cause is hypertension. And so when you look at the combination of diabetes and hypertension, that comprises about 75% of all people with kidney disease, and particularly those that are on dialysis. But what has been revealed within the last few years is the genetic component that's affiliated with kidney disease. And what we found out now is that there is a gene that is known as APOL1, apolipoprotein 1. This gene, which is identified in African Americans in a high-risk allele variant in sub-Saharan Africa, many of the ancestors who had this gene has transitioned this gene to us, meaning us African Americans. And there's a large percentage of African Americans who carry this high-risk allele component of APOL1. And so what we found out now is that perhaps there has been this misattribution of hypertension, which those individuals who were thought to have had hypertension as a cause of their kidney disease actually have this genetic component known as APOL1. And so now we can actually test for this high-risk allele variant of APOL1. And actually, it just requires a swabbing of the cheek. And we can send this off to a few laboratories in the United States, and we can get a result as to African Americans and those who have African ancestry, Jay. If they have these, if they're African or have African ancestry, and they have this APOL1 gene, then perhaps now there are going to be some treatments that are going to come down the pipeline to be able to target the APOL1 expression and mitigate the risk of kidney disease, particularly in African Americans and those with African ancestry.
So do you see that like as a screening test for someone that may present with either, hypertension or diabetes of African American descent, that boom,
Absolutely.
day one, like you do a cholesterol level or a BUN and creatinine, whatever it is, it becomes
Yes,
part of the routine, and then treatment's directed that way.
absolutely. And that's what now that's being really advised to nephrologists around the country, that if you have an African American or someone with African ancestry, so that includes Hispanics, Latinos, those that perhaps may have some African ancestry, it's widely suggested that if they come in with some component of kidney disease, to go ahead and be swabbed to see if they have the high risk allele variant of APOL1. And so, yes, that is definitely being recommended now, which has had some tremendous results thus far. And hopefully we see it proliferate throughout the United States in the very near future.
What was the positive adaptation? We know that some of these genetic variants occurred, thousands of years ago as a genetic adaptation. So sickle cell, right? Sickle cell was an adaptation to malaria. Was that as a preventative because of dehydration in terms of maintaining blood pressure in such high density drought areas? I mean, what's the thought of the etiology of this quote unquote, mutation?
Well, it's fascinating you asked that, Jay, because what is well known is that this high risk allele variant in Africa right now, it actually prevents Africans from developing African sleep sickness.
Whoa.
And so that gives you that variation component as to how this genetic variation actually is beneficial in Africa. But unfortunately, when you have two of the high risk allele variants of this gene, okay, this is what leads to the potential of developing underlying chronic kidney disease as a result. And so, yes, you're absolutely correct. In its natural form, and for those who live in sub-Saharan Africa, in Central and Western Africa, they actually have a benefit of having these high-risk allele variants because it actually prevents them from developing diseases like African sleep sickness. That's
Well,
correct.
that's fascinating. Well, I appreciate the insight there. And I think our audience will appreciate that as well. So I'm sure you've got a couple questions for me, Daryl. Everybody always does.
Absolutely, Jay. Who doesn't have questions for you?
Right.
So Jay, one of my questions would be that now that PCOM is in South Georgia and has been well established, by the way, for the last few years, how do you see it contributing to the fight against chronic kidney disease that is so prevalent in the South Georgia region?
Well, you and I both know that the cornerstone for any chronic disease is early detection, prevention, and treatment. And, and we also know in the rural South, access to primary care is limited. So the more physicians we can turn out that are from rural Georgia, that do their residencies and stay in rural Georgia, we're going to have more primary care physicians giving patients greater access so they can be identified and treated earlier so that we can prevent the chronic long-term sequela of hypertension and diabetes.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I'll say, Jay, that we've already seen that impact from the school. The school has definitely, we just in a short period of time has become a staple to South Georgia. And so we're very appreciative, both in the medical community, and I think the community as a whole, we're very appreciative for what PCOM has brought as a tremendous asset to South Georgia. My next question too, Jay, would be that when you visit Moultrie, what is one place that you absolutely must visit while you're in town, and why?
Well, if you promise not to laugh, I will answer that question.
All right.
Okay. So I love fried chicken. Okay. And the KFC in Moultrie is one of the best, is one of the best KFCs like around, like in Pennsylvania, wherever. So when I'm down there, I always try, at least have one meal, whether it's a lunch or dinner, at the KFC in Moultrie.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Now, if you know of a better fried chicken place, let me know. I'll try it out. That's like up right up there with pizza, trying to, to get the best wherever I am.
I don't disagree with you, and I love KFC myself, but I bet you if some of the other chicken owners in South Georgia heard that, they'll probably beg to differ a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm sure they would. I'm open for suggestion. I mean, like we also,
I love it.
Try and hit some of the best barbecue places.
Oh, absolutely.
On the way to Moultrie, where I'm always looking for, a great barbecue place as well.
Well, let me ask you this too, and actually, I was in Philadelphia just a few weeks ago. I was at the American Society of Nephrology annual national meeting. I must say Philadelphia has just a plethora of five-star restaurants, in my opinion. How is the fried chicken in Philly compared to South Georgia when you make a comparison?
It's better in South Georgia.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, nobody comes close.
I got it. That's awesome.
Nobody comes close. So Daryl, how are you an Eagles and Sixers fan?
That's a very good question. So came fond of Philadelphia actually through my father. My father actually back in the late 60s was a very good basketball player, Jay. He played at Alabama State University where he was an All-American, and still to this day is the second all-time leading scorer in the school. But following his stint in college, he was actually drafted in the 4th round by Philadelphia, by the 76ers.
Oh wow.
And so if you know, and we still have all of his draft memorabilia, and at that time his coach was Jack Ramsey.
Oh, wow.
Jack Ramsey actually, we still have it. We've blown it up and have it framed. But yeah, Jack Ramsey wrote his first draft letter to congratulate him, but he was drafted in the 4th round from Alabama State. His name is Daryl Crenshaw, and he had a short stint, went to camp and had some injuries in camp, and then ultimately, yeah. So it was very short stinted, but after that, he went and played in the ABA. And played for a stint with the Pittsburgh Condors. So this was back in, he was drafted in 1970 with Philadelphia, and then after that he went to Pittsburgh to play. But we celebrate that, and as we were growing up, we always stayed very fond of Philadelphia during the Julius Erving era, and then just going on for many decades after that, going to Allen Iverson and you name it. So always been a Philadelphia 76ers fan, which, now transitioning led me to becoming an Eagles fan. So I am a bona fide Eagles fan. What happened the other day?
The other day, the last 7, all the talk in town now is whether Sirianni survives or not.
I know. And I guess, is Belichick, has he committed? I know it was thought that he may have the job. I don't know.
Well, I think to it the Falcons. I mean,
the Falcons, yeah.
He hasn't been interviewed here, so
okay.
I don't think the Eagles would sign Belichick. I don't think Jeffrey Lurie's a fan of Bill.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, the next time you're up in Philly, you got to let me know. We got to get together.
Well, we went to, I came by PCOM. I met with Pete Biddy actually.
Okay.
When I was there, I wanted to see the campus.
Oh,
So
cool.
so I got a chance to meet Pete. Pete showed me around very graciously. Then that following Saturday and Sunday, I went to a 76ers game. That weekend, the Sixers played the Suns. And then Sunday, went to the Eagles and Cowboys game. So I got a chance to see that.
Oh,
So
that's when we won. Oh, that was a great game.
that was an exciting game. The weather was
Yeah.
beautiful.
No, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you lucked out.
no, I did.
You
I
definitely lucked
did.
out. You
I
definitely lucked
did.
out. All right, Daryl, I'll let you get back to saving lives, man. Okay.
All right. This is
Appreciate
awesome.
it. I really want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure spending time with you and learning more about your commitment to providing up-to-date, compassionate care to the residents of South Georgia and North Florida, and for being a great teacher and being a great role model and mentor to our students, and to our young faculty as well. I'm Dr. Jay Feldstein, and this has been PCOM Perspectives. You can listen to PCOM Perspectives on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Until our next episode, remember, as you navigate the fascinating worlds of medicine and higher education, shifting your outlook can be the key to unlocking new insights and better patient care. Stay curious, stay open, and keep a healthy perspective.